Howdy, Beefalo Bart here, and welcome. I'm going to go ahead and create a blank new project, since I've already done this multiple times, but I want to go through and I want to make sure that I'm doing a good solid video on making an audio player with playlist. I really haven't seen a heck of a lot of videos out there doing it really well, so I'm just going to launch, and I'm going to create a whole blank new project. So, right now the drink of choice, coffee. And we're going to do a new project, and I really want to start messing with that. VR looks fun, but I don't have a headset for it. So we're going to call this our media player. That's the name of our project. Lovely, right? We're going to start it off as a blank. Well, we can start it off as a third person, I guess, because we're going to end up putting that in there anyway. So if you're going to have to choose, you might as well choose something you're going to use as a base. And we'll go with third person, no starter. You know what? And I don't like you, and I don't like you, and I don't like you, and you can stay, but you got to go underground. And then we are going to go ahead and start off with doing this the correct way. The first thing we're going to do is maps. So if we do a save all and save this map, this will now become... Okay, that got saved. Well, let's save it in our new one. So save current as our maps folder, and we're just going to call this our test Maparoni. And I'll go to edit our preferences. Doing this stuff right now will save me a lot of headaches. Main window right here. Go to loading and saving and uncheck enable autosave. Close that and go over here. Project settings. These are things just to get the project set up for this is what we're going to do. Edit a startup map. Let's just go right to our test map. Game default map. We're going right to our test map. Nice and easy. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do a lighting build. And while we're doing that, what we're going to need to do to start doing this, and this project is called Media Player. So you're going to want to go to where your projects are, and you can be doing this while you're doing your lighting build and that kind of stuff. And it's called Media Player, and it's not showing up, so I need to click away, click back, and right there. So we're going to go in here and scroll down and go into our content folder. And inside of our content folder, we need to make a new folder. We're going to call that, we're going to have to do this in File Explorer. We can't do it in game. You probably could, but just as easy to do this. We're going to call this Movies. It needs to be MOVIES. It needs to be that. It needs to be movies. It does need to be movies. Did I mention it needs to be movies? And the next thing we're going to need to do is we need to find our music. And while we've got that open, well, I guess I can leave it like this. We're going to scroll down, and God, so much stuff in this. New tunes, and we're going to use MP3s. And I'm just going to grab this one, this one, this one. I'm going to grab a handful. I'm skipping a couple of them in here because they're versions of the same song just without vocals in it and that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter how many you put in. You can put as many or as few or whatever you want. But I'm just going to go ahead and yeah, that's good enough. And then I'm just going to take that and go back to where my project is. And I'm going to go ahead and copy those into my movies folder. Yes, it says movies, and these are not movies, they're MP3s. But I'm going to go ahead and copy them in there. It's 120 megabytes. So there's all our music. So what we can do now is we go to the next part. Since we don't see it in here, And that's fine. We don't need to see it in here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder, and I'm going to call this my media. Inside there, I'm just going to try to be organized. Just like, with the map, I try to be organized with how things are laid out. Create a folder called map shit, and I just shove everything in there that's not already in a folder. And I'm sorry, sir, but we don't need your existence anymore. All right, so we're good to go on that. We've got a media folder, and I'm going to go ahead and do another one for music. And I'm going to go into this folder, and now I just need to right click, go to media, and file media source. Okay, I'm going to leave my folder up. It's nice having multiple monitors here, so that I can actually see the name. So I know that this one is going to be the first one on the list, and I'm just going to go down by the way they are on the list. Story goes on, and I'm just going to call these the name, but let's go into it, and you see you got file path. So when I go into the file path and the story goes on, I'm in the right folder automatically, thankfully, and then I can just click OK and save. And you're going to have to do this for every single solitary song you've got. Unfortunate, but this is the way things work. So again, media, file media source. And this one's, I'm just going to abbreviate these. I'm not going to type in the whole names, but it does help to come back and go ahead and put them in there now. That way you don't get mixed up and put the name wrong or what have you. So this is going to take a few moments to go ahead and set up my file media source. And this is very important. Home, go into it, click there, coming home. All right. So that's 3 songs in here. And this is not the only place you're going to end up setting this up. You're going to create a playlist. And I'll show that here in just a second. I'm going to add a couple more songs. I know it's fun to watch doing this, but you know what? You're not going to build a AAA title in a day, or ever if you're me. But call this one PCH to abbreviate it. Hit that here. PCH. I'm just going to abbreviate the crap out of these names here without getting too in depth. And I'll actually come back on my time and add more of them because I don't want to sit here and bore you to frickin' death. I do good enough with that anyway. So after PCH, we got Dusty, and that was Dusty Tearjerker. And again, all these came from TechnoX. So if you want to find these songs or whatever songs you want from there, I'd say the link is in the description here. I would definitely check them out. All right, sorry, I said that one's the last one, but it's on an odd number. So, and we'll call this one Void. I'm just filling the void. And save. So let's actually go into it, and we're going to go ahead and create a playlist. And I'm going to right click and select media playlist. Okay, and I'm just going to call this radio underscore playlist. Doesn't really matter. Now you see you've got all your media that you've added in as your file media source. So with those in there, all I have to do now is click on the plus here. Click here, and Bag Cat was my first one. I'm going to get the plus again. Coming home, plus. Dusty. And you do this in your playlist for every song that you physically want in your playlist. So now we got 2 more to do. I'll do 1 and 2. So now I can click on here. Story goes on, and void. I'll come back later and I'll do this with all of the songs that are that I've uploaded in there. but this 6 will get me started. But as you can see, it's numbered 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The numbers on the side. It starts at 0 instead of 1, but we have 6 in our array element. So we have 6 songs, just the number starts at 0. Okay, so we've got our playlist. Now I'm going to go back to my media folder, and I'm going to go ahead and got a music folder, and we'll actually have our, lack of a better name for right now, I'm just going to call it data. Not necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and create, for the name of the folder, I'm going to go ahead and create a media player. And I'm not doing videos in this one, but if I was doing videos, then I would check that box. It used to be that there was an option here for audio. That's no más, no more. Es no está. It no longer exists. It's a different way of actually setting that up. And I'll show you that here, because that's going to be part of setting up our radio. So I'm just going to click OK to that, and I'm going to call this our radio underscore MP. So this is our new media player. We go into it, and you can see I've got playlist, and I've got all of our different songs here. By default, none of these songs should set to looping, which is fine. So we just want to go ahead and hit save, and we can close that. So how do we get them to actually play? Well, I'm going to go ahead and also create in sounds a sound attenuation. This is going to be necessary if you don't want your music to actually go everywhere. If you want to confine it to a box-shaped area or a cone shape or a spherical shape, sphere is going to be the default, so you can actually set it up to where it's actually going to only project in a small area. So setting up an attenuation, it's currently going to be defaulted to 400 and 3600. I'm going to change that to 800 here, and everything else should be fine. And you see this is where I said sphere, capsule, box, or cone. You can select that there. The type of function, there's a demonstration on the UE4 website that in their help section that shows the difference of the linear curves and everything else for it, but this is good enough for most cases. So we've got our attenuation now, and we don't need any sound cues, we don't need any of the other stuff, but we do need a blueprint for the actual radio itself. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here to my map, and I'm going to just throw a cube in here, which will represent my actual radio, or I could say this is my actual speakers, but it's going to have stereo sound coming from this. So it's not going to matter all that much. So I'm just going to zero that out and shove it up next to the wall, and this is going to be our quote-unquote radio. You don't have to build a specific radio to actually do this. You just need the blueprint for it. But you could, if you wanted to build a radio, and this is okay, this is going to be my static radio, and it's got a visual in it. You don't have to do that. All you need is the blueprint with what I'm going to show you here in just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and create a new blueprint, class, actor, and this is going to be my radio blueprint. I'm going to go into it, and the first thing we need is an audio component. So you can scroll down till you find it, or just, media, a media sound component. And that's good. You don't have to worry about renaming it. It'll be fine. Compile and save. And let's go into our event graph. And I'm going to dump these two. We're going to run our begin play. It's going to be our trigger for this. Set it up whatever trigger you want. We can get a reference to our media sound. Because now if we click on our media sound, what we want to do here, channels, it's stereo, surround, mono. You can set that up the way you want. I'm going to leave it at stereo. I'm going to go to media player, select my radio media player, and my attenuation. I'm going to choose my radio attenuation, and I'm going to compost and save. Now, one more thing here. we need to know what to play. We need to know what to do on event begin play. So I'm going to come over here and create a variable, and I'm going to call this my media player. It doesn't have to have a fancy name, but the variable type, we're going to come over here and we're going to type in our media player, and we're going to get our object reference. We're going to compost and save, and again we're going to pull in that guy. So we've got our media sound component, and honestly, I don't even think we're really going to need that, but in here, let's actually grab our, we need it in here, but let's just go ahead and grab reference to our get media player. And if we want to, we can just start this. Yeah, Freebird. Yeah, I get long-winded enough. That song is, what was it, 14 minutes, the length of that song? I love the song, don't get me wrong. So with our playlist, I'm just going to drag off of here, and I'm going to type in playlist, and I want open playlist index. Just connect that into there. And what this is going to do here is it's going to let me start off with index 0. Okay? It's just going to start playing. I'm going to grab my playlist and playlist. So that should be fine. And it's going to run our attenuation. So let's go ahead and put a radio blueprint in here. And you see the two circles. The little circles where it's going to be absolute full volume. The big circles where it's just going to fall off and we're not going to hear it. So if I hit play, it's not actually doing attenuation right now.
Remember days you hold my hand, walk the streets, you the man. Did you know?
So in our radio blueprint, if we actually came in here and instead of doing that, let's actually grab our media sound component, drag that reference in here, and if we tried that, it's not going to work. We would only have the open source, well, go to media, open media sound component, and yeah, we don't have any control over that. So that we just need to make sure that we're using our media player. See, it's set right there to media player, and it didn't like my media sound component. We'll leave it in there, and again, that was just playlist. Damn it, I can't type. Open playlist index. Now, you could actually just set it up to just play the source, but when you choose your playlist in here like that, index 0 is going to be the first song in your playlist. And if we go back into our media, music, playlist, index 0 is Battle Cat. Now, setting it up to where it's doing this is nice. It actually works. But I don't want it to just do that. It works. It'll play music. We're going to take this media sound component. We're going to leave that in there. And right now we have nothing in our event blueprint. Everything is good on that. So let's do that. And let's go to our data folder. And here's the thing is we want to control this in a widget instead of just letting it just auto play and do that thing. So let's actually come over here to our third person blueprint. And we want to ignore all that garbo. And let's just find an empty spot to work with. And we're also going to create a widget. So for that, I'm just going to go ahead and create a variable using radio, or radio widget. We'll just keep it simple. A boolean, compose, and save. And I want to do this on a key press, so I'm just going to do keyboard 1. So when we press the 1 key on our keyboard, it's going to pray. It's going to pray our stuff. Damn, I can't talk. I can't type. I just want to go ahead and do this. And I'm going to start it off with a flip-flop, because I want to cycle it. I want to just hit the key and open it and hit the key again and close it back up again. So on A, we do this. On B, we do this. And I'm just going to pack in a custom event just because I have nothing else better to do with my life. And I like custom events. They're cool. And all the cool kids are doing it. So I'm going to custom event and open radio. And from there, all we're going to do is create a widget. The widget we don't have yet, so we need to create it. And get player controller. If we can control this all from the widget, we'll do a little bit better. And it's going to give me an error because, oh no, you didn't select a widget. You're stupid. So let's go ahead and create the widget to make this stupid thing happy. So right click, widget blueprint, and radio underscore W. There's a widget. Are you happy now? Now we can put radio widget right there and get rid of that horrible red line there. And when we do this, we want to add to viewport, and we're going to need a mouse cursor. So set show mouse cursor to true. And we would definitely want to set that to true because that's what it is. And I'm going to quickly come over here, and I don't think I've got anything on event begin play yet, but event begin play. And just because of my OCD levels, I wanted to go ahead and do another custom event just because, again, that's what all the cool kids do. Custom event and startup shit. And the first of the startup shit is set input to game only. And get player controller. And set show mouse cursor defaults. We want this to be on by default when we first get in there and force it to where this is our game mode. This is what I want you to do with the mouse cursor. I don't want to ever see it again. So startup shit is in place and we're good. So now when we actually hit the number 1 key, we're going to call up the widget, add it to viewport, turn on our mouse cursor, and set the fact that we're using our radio widget. Alright, so on here, I'm just going to do open radio. You don't have to do it that way. I just, like I said, I'm weird, and that's how I'm doing it. And then off of B line, we're going to set radio widget to false. And we're going to handle what happens on this side for closing it in the actual widget. Alright, so in our radio widget, lovely, right? Creating widgets, I'm just going to do this absolutely basic. You can do it in the upper right hand corner, bottom right hand, left hand. We can put it wherever the hell you want to put it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab in the somewhere. I don't know where the hell it is. And it's helpful to come back and look through these every now and then. So every time you look through them, they throw something new in there. So let's actually be cool whenever we throw this window up. Let's go to Special Effects, Background Blur, and I'm going to drag that in here. And I'm going to tell it to be -1 because I want it to be behind everything. And I'm going to anchor this to full screen. And I'm just going to go in here and hit 0 tab, 0 tab, 0 tab, 0 tab. And that's going to put a blur on the background of everything. As soon as we hit it, bang, everything gets blurry. Kind of like whenever I stand up most days. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so that's that. That's going to have our basic effect when we first go into it. We're going to need a primitive later, but we need panel. We need, just to be neat and organized, I'm going to grab a vertical box. And I'll position it later. And where the hell did you put it? No, idiot. I had the background blur selected, so I don't want that selected, so I'm just going to drag that down and to my canvas panel, and there it is. So now I can select my vertical box, and for right now, again, I'm just going to shove it wherever. I'm going to make it larger, and I'm going to start creating some functionality, and, you know, I may just anchor it to the top right. Good enough for me. And then, since we have the blurry background, you don't really need to worry about doing like an image with the black behind it or whatever. We're just going to do this. This is going to be good enough. So in here, what I want to do is I want to scroll back up, and I'm going to put in a button in the vertical box. I'm going to drag it to right there, and then I'm going to grab text. I'll keep this nice and simple. Startup button. I label all of my buttons here because when we get into the event graph portion of it, we'll be able to see that and know what we're actually pulling into it. And start music. You can call these whatever you want. I'm just getting basic functionality right now. So we have that start button. To be neat, you can actually come down here and with your vertical box selected, grab a grab a spacer and just drag that down to your vertical box. And now you're going to have a spacer, and then I'm just going to go ahead and get crazy. Do this super exciting, cool stuff. Grab a horizontal box, drop that into my vertical box now, and in this spacer, let's make it 20, and the Y, that's going to give us a little bit of a gap there. Then our horizontal box, let's go ahead and drag in a button and put text on the button itself, and we're just going to call this next button, and we're actually just going to change the text to say next. And if you want to get, again, cool, go ahead and grab a spacer, put it in this new horizontal box, and that spacer, we're just going to put it as 20 in the X. Not that important, but come back and throw some functionality onto it. If you don't want to sit here and keep doing this, I'm just going to click this button, right click, copy, go back to my horizontal box and paste, and then change the name of it. This is going to be previous button. Instead of saying next, we want it to say short for previous. And let's grab our horizontal box. Let's click, no, we don't feel that way. I really suck at doing these things. You know, I'll get it looking nice 1 minute, and then because I don't want to fill that direction, so I want it to actually the previous button can go on to the right, fill, and do it that way. Or you can actually probably be better to hit fill on that. And next button, fill. So it just spaces them apart. So you can hit the next button or previous button. Um, I'm going to sit there and just show the basics of what you can do with these controls. And actually, I'm going to add one more thing in here just for the heck of it. And we've already done this in another one. We're going to copy that and go back to our vertical box. Actually, no, let's copy our spacer. Go back to our vertical box and paste. And then let's copy our horizontal box. Yeah, you're probably getting lost here, so don't worry about it. Alright, so this next button, I'm actually going to change. That's going to be pause button. And we're going to go ahead and change it to, say, pause. You can build your interfaces. This isn't a tutorial on how to build interfaces. So, yeah. The previous button on this one, we're changing to play button. And previous is actually being changed to play. Or plow, either one. I don't care, either way. Because, I damn sure can't type right now. So we got start music, next, previous, pause, play. You can make this look as beautiful as you want. Since we've blurred the entire screen, you know what, I can change this to center and just grab the thing and shove it in there. We're going to put it right there. That looks lovely. Who cares where it goes? So we're just going to go to our graph, and I'm going to dump all this stuff out of here. And startup button. I'm going to click on that and on clicked. So this is where on startup we just want to go ahead and say from here we don't have that, so we need to create a variable. Again, this is going to be our media player, and I'm going to go ahead and go to the variable type media player and get that object reference, compile, save, and then scroll down and click on my media player, my radio media player. So now I can get a reference to my media player, drag that sucker in here, and from that just type in playlist, open playlist index. Now when we shove that in here, select our playlist, and now it's going to start with index 0, the song in index 0. It's just going to start playing that first one when we hit that startup button. And then by our designer we had next and previous. So let's go to our next button, unclicked. This is going to be complicated, okay? And I'm just going to left click, alternate, drag it in here. So it gets really complicated on doing the next button. Next. I know, it's complicated. It gets scary. Don't let it scare you. Previous button, unclicked. You know what, I'm just going to move you up here, and I'm going to drag this off of there. And oh, there it goes. Previous. These functions are already there, so that's all you're doing is, okay, next, previous. So you can imagine then the pause button and play button. Wonder how to set those guys up. Pause. Oh, yeah, there you go. Complicated, I know, but you know what? The sacrifices we make to make things awesome, right? and play. Now, the only thing that's not awesome about this is my freaking widget. This is lovely, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do something I hate, and event tick. Now you could just put an exit button, but that wouldn't clog up the system fast enough. So let's actually just do an event tick instead. And what I want to do here is cast to our third person character, because that's the player character in this particular project. And we want to get player character. So we want to ask our player character, is our what? Is our radio widget true? So just get radio widget. And let's go ahead and branch it. And from false is what we want here. We're asking if it's true, and if it is true or false, sorry, if we want it to be false, then we want to set input to game mode only. And let's get our player controller. And once we do that, we can set show mouse cursor there. Now, did I tell it to be... No, I didn't. Let's actually go back in here and drag this out. And we need to set input to UI only. Our player controller reference and our widget reference. So this is going to set us into UI mode and our player, and this is going to get us back out of it into our regular. It's going to turn off our mouse cursor. Yep, and then the last thing to do is remove from parent. Good old abortion. I mean, remove from parent. Yeah. So what happens now when we hit play? Well, there's nothing there. We hit the 1 key and... Well, in your widget, if you decide you want to do... actually, it's going to put this back in upright. Well, nope, let's put it in the center. And you're wanting to do the background blur. Make sure you come over here to your blur strength. I don't know why it doesn't default to like 10 or something, so there's some kind of blur in there. That's why whenever I hit the 1 key, everything wasn't blurry. Now it's blurry. We have our thing. Start music. And there we go. Pause. Play. Next. Previous. What if you're on track 1, you hit the previous button? It goes to the end of the playlist and starts from that one. Beautiful stuff, right? So that's that. That's creating a basic system for a playlist. Now you can do this with videos. Excuse me. Pause. You can do this with video as well, and say you set up a static mesh and you display the video onto a static mesh, like a movie screen or a TV screen. You create the playlist exactly the same way we did there. And let's actually hit our number 1 key and starting it all over again. And it doesn't like the 1 key. The reason why it doesn't like the number 1 key is in the player where it's set input mode to UI only, it seems to disable the keyboard input for some unknown stupid reason. So you can actually do, instead, you can do set input to game and UI. You really don't want your player being able to walk around and walk off a cliff or something like that whenever they're in that mode. So when you actually go in here now, the radio's over there, so we hit 1, start our music, and you can see we're still moving around. And I don't like that. That's why I like to go into the other mode, but this seems to work. So you hit your start music, and next, next. Lovely. You hit the number 1 key and go back out of it, and go back to doing your thing. There we go. So, yeah, that's that. And what do we have an error in? Oh, excuse me. I am so sorry. I forgot to do player controller and widget to focus. Are you happy now? You guys let me do that. So, hit 1, start music. Next. Pause. 1. There we go. So now I'm not moving around. That's why it wasn't, because I didn't have the player controller locked into there. Now the player is not actually moving. Let's hit next. It's very simple. I mean, very, very simple system. But, you know, if you didn't know how to do it, then it's like, well, you do it. It's crazy. It's sorcery. And honestly, that's all it was, is if you want to start the music, you open playlist index, put in your playlist, and it's going to start at 0. If you want it to start at number 2, then put a 2 in there, or 1, and then we get that playlist information from our playlist that we created. And you can put as many songs in this playlist as you want. You can create multiple playlists. If you want to have another playlist called Bathroom Follies or the Toilet Tickler or whatever the hell, you can call your playlist whatever you want. And from each media player that you have, you can actually create a separate playlist for separate areas. So if you don't want that playlist, if you want to make a country club, you go out there and you listen to your twanging country music over here, or you want to come over here and listen to hip hop, or you want to come over to this one. Each of your different radio stations could be set up that way, so you could actually create a radio station system. And just like we have here on hit 1, bring it up, hit start music. Instead of it just starting music, you could set it up to where it actually looks like a radio, and you have like the buttons, old school radios where you actually have buttons on them, and you could select a radio station like in a car or whatever else, and your interface can actually do that, whether it's a cell phone interface, a widget, or whatever you want to create for your project. And all you have to do is just create a playlist for each radio station, and then you can let your users then go through and do this. Now again, it does require that all the songs that you want in your playlist are inside of a folder called movies into your actual project. There is another way of doing it, which involves them actually streaming the music directly from a hosted website. Going to be looking more into that system to where I'm actually be able to bring in streamed media, whether it's images, videos, audio, what have you. But, you know, let's just do a quick save all. I'll show you what I had in my project here, and then we'll cut this one short and we'll start getting ready for the regular Wednesday video. I'm going to be setting up a movie theater in this particular project that I'm getting ready to bring up right now, and just experimenting with different features. This isn't my final product that I'm working on, but it has all the little features that I'm testing will go into this actual one right here. So if I go into new test, Just again testing features. Um, Hit play. Oh, this is the my medic sitting over here by the ambulance conveniently. So if I'm running around and oh crap, I just got hurt, the bot will come over, heal me, and go back to his position. Hey, it's cheesy, but it works. Oh, you gotta chase me to heal me. You can do it. You can do it. Come on, you can do it. Come on. There you go. And this is the same project where you can go. Why? Because he does a little 24-second dance routine there, throwing money in here. You make it rain. Or you can manually go into the dance, or you can actually hit this, play music, and then 3 to close it back up and go back into your.
It's been a long time. Remember days you hold my hand.
So yeah, this is the simple interface was set up to. Make sure you hit the right key here. The same thing. This is not even close to a final interface for it. It was just making sure that this was set up with attenuation. So now I'm over here. I can't hear the radio. But as soon as I get back in range of the radio, the attenuation lets me start hearing it. So that's what I was wanting to do. Yes, this also works if you actually die too. He'll revive you. I haven't set up the death animations in this project, so. Yeah, that's that. If you guys got any questions about media player stuff, let me know. Let me pause this. Thank you. So yeah, if you have any questions about the media player stuff, I'm going to keep tinkering around with it. It is going to be part of my main project, which is an actual, a social thing. Hanging out with your friends. Trouble is, I don't have any friends, but yeah. We'll cover more of that whenever I start actually showing more about the final product. I thought I did this in a video yesterday, I believe it was, on the medic bot. It is utmost simple. Just a regular AI Move 2 node, and it's not the best for navigation in complex maps, but he just runs over, he does plays the sound, applies the heal, and then turns around and walks away. That's neat. Alright guys, if you got any questions about it, hit me up on Discord. I'm going to be around a little bit here and there, but I'm also going to get set up for the normal regular Wednesday stream, where it's just going to be an open questions and answers. I'll throw up a blank project, and if you got questions on something, we'll fiddle around with something, we'll make it work. And if you can't make it work, then, sorry. But, regular Wednesday, just kind of goofing off, and just kind of seeing what's going on, talk to people, let you request functions and features and things of that nature. This is just another test map. Alright. Thanks for watching, guys. And we will see you soon.